Alright everyone, today's video is going to be about Anthem due to the fact that E3 is right around the corner and we will most likely see some sort of footage or release or press material or something regarding this game at that convention. I will be attending with my core team, and just like last year, we will undoubtedly see an explosion of hype regarding this and many other games directly after the convention or the event. So I wanted to put this out there now and just remind everyone of the current situation and landscape that is the Anthem game. The number one thing that I personally am stressing about does not have to do with gameplay or delivering on expectations or microtransactions or the 10-year plan, which I'll touch on all of those different things in just a minute here. But the number one thing that I wanted to talk about is that this is likely the last life for Bioware as an entire studio. EA, the Taskmaster-like publisher which holds the reins of Bioware, has a history of closing down studios, and especially fresh off the heels of Mass Effect Andromeda, which resulted in the Bioware subsection that worked on it being absorbed into its counterpart, and also the entire Mass Effect series being put on ice. I feel personally, and I know a lot of other people agree with this, that this is the last hope for Bioware, and there's a lot of news that has been coming out of that studio in recent months as well that speaks to that assumption. It talks about how employees are afraid for their job, how if Anthem does not deliver on expectations or is not well received and flops, that they very well may be in a situation where they have to find work elsewhere. We've seen a lot of developers already leaving Bioware. We've already seen them bailing on the project, and yes, a lot of that has to do with their specific job already being done, but some of that does not have any sort of, other strings attached other than that they are bailing, they are jumping ship. And there's a lot of stress in that work environment, and there's a lot of expectations being placed on Anthem. So if Anthem fails, and I personally believe that it will, I don't want it to, let's not, cross our wires here. I don't want Anthem to fail, I just believe that it will, and if it does, I do believe that Bioware as a studio will cease to exist as a result of that. Now, Bioware has been responsible for the Dragon Age games and many other high-profile releases which are very well received in the gaming community. They've done great work in the past, and I believe that the number one tragedy behind Anthem, if it were to fail doing so, would be Bioware shutting down. The second thing that should worry everyone in the current climate of having this rage-induced reaction to microtransactions, which is justified, don't get me wrong, I totally understand. I think it's a predatory practice and there's no place for it in the gaming universe right now, especially not in full $60 release titles. But the rage reaction to microtransactions is something that we really have to keep a close eye on, because Anthem was delayed after EA and its whole debacle with Star Wars Battlefront 2. There is no doubt in my mind and many other gamers and content creators out there that they had to redesign Anthem systems from the ground up because they had baked in microtransactions, as profit hungry as they are, in every aspect of its progression from the ground up. They had to redesign that system because of the backlash against Battlefront 2, and I doubt that they're removing them entirely. If they include microtransactions in any capacity, number one, it will beg for some sort of bad reaction to the release, and number two, I just don't think that they can avoid doing it. I think that they're, EA, I'm talking about EA right now, not Bioware, I think that they're addicted to those profits. They have a history of incorporating them into sports games. They have FIFA, they have Madden, they have all these other games that have been using this model for so long, and it is so profitable that they will put it into Anthem. They simply can't help themselves. For the record, I do not want to hate on EA simply for the sake of it. If they were to release a very good product, or if Bioware comes out with Anthem and it delivers on expectations and it's free of, at least most of the microtransaction predatory practices, then we need to recognize that. We should not simply boycott something or hate something, regardless of its own merits, because it came from EA. I understand the mentality, but I recently did a video talking about pessimism and optimism in gaming, and being overly pessimistic and simply hating something because of who made it, even if it itself is a good product, is not something we should do or perpetuate. So if the game comes out and it's great, then we should acknowledge that, but be very skeptical due to the fact that EA does have this track record. Next on the agenda is the infamous 10-year plan. Does that sound familiar? Well, it should, because you have Destiny, Destiny 2, and probably in the very near future, unfortunately, Destiny 3. The Destiny franchise opted for the exact same type of speculative model pre-release. The whole 10-year plan, we will continue to develop this game, we will build it over a decade and make it a very good product. And if you look at the material and the subject matter of both of the games, they're eerily similar. You have the sci-fi elements, you have the cooperative elements, and one is third person, one is first person, sure, and then you have the whole different, lores of the universe, but they are pretty similar in their setting and their functionality. So, looter shooters, both of them as well. So that leads me to believe that a similar 10-year plan before the new first version of the game is launched, both with Destiny and with Anthem, is a bad sign. If we look back at Destiny, it took years for the original game to reach a point where gamers were kind of holistically accepting it for what it was and recognizing that it was in a good spot with enough content. And that journey was a bumpy one. Then they took 19 steps backwards when they released Destiny 2, and it failed in almost every single category. Now, before they've even fixed Destiny 2, they're already developing Destiny 3. By the end of this, you will have spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on the Destiny franchise over the course of its 10-year plan. I get that you have to spend increasing amounts of money, but now when we apply that same model over to Anthem and EA, then it's likely going to be Anthem releases. It's probably not going to be where it needs to be at launch. They'll tag the DLC with a bunch of different, amounts of money that you need to spend and the season passes. There will also be microtransactions. Potentially, this is all speculative, but I really don't see any other way that this could go down. Then they'll develop sequels if there's even a modicum of success during the first release, and it really is not a good model. The 10-year model at this point, before the first game has even come out, is just not something that I can get behind. It feels really rushed. It just makes me extremely uncomfortable. Last up are the project leaders that have been abandoning the project. And there are various reasons for this. I'm not going to say that they're all leaving because the ship is sinking or be a doomsayer or anything like that. But when you do have core development team members leaving, it really doesn't say anything good. It doesn't necessarily mean something cataclysmically bad, but it definitely does not mean that it's something good. You shouldn't be happy to see that happening. Also, there was a massive delay on the project of over a year, and that is, in my eyes, and I think a lot of other people would agree with this, to remove microtransactions from the base progression system and to, really give them enough time to build up a product that will deliver on expectations due to the severity and the need for it to do so, because if it does not, there's a lot of jobs on the line, most likely, in my opinion. But having team members leave and having a game be delayed does not necessarily lend credibility to the project in my eyes. If I look back at other, games that were released after having long delays, they weren't necessarily better as a result. A lot of the times there was a direction shift which resulted in the delay, and then the end product was cobbled together during that time, during that delay period, and it was not better as a result. It was actually like they changed direction and then they couldn't even bring it up to snuff, and it just kind of fell apart. There are a lot of examples to this. Some from my past, at least personally, are Tom Clancy's The Division. That game was delayed huge amounts of time, and it did not release in a competent, finished state. Then you have other games which had a direction shift and had, lead developers leave near to release, like Destiny. Again, that game did not launch in a finished state, and it really is something to pay attention to. All things being considered, I do not want to say, and I should not say, that Anthem will be bad. I just get really bad Mass Effect Andromeda vibes from it. I get Destiny vibes from it. I get the Division vibes from it. And since last year's E3, there was actually another content creator that I know that was at the convention, and he was told by someone there that Anthem would bear striking resemblances to Tom Clancy's The Division, maybe given its looter shooter kind of structure, given the way the abilities will be set up and the cooperative aspect, and then having, two sidebar abilities, one main ability, maybe with the modding or perhaps with even gear set type mechanics, who knows, that's all speculation. But if it's going to bear similarities to Tom Clancy's The Division and similarities to Destiny that we've already seen with the 10-year plan, with the genre, with the subject matter, that really doesn't lend itself well to me having a lot of confidence in the project. So I will not say that Anthem will be bad, but what I have to say with E3 coming up right around the corner is that we have to rein in our expectations. A blind hype train for this game would be just fundamentally damaging to everyone who purchases it and subscribes to that hype, because it just doesn't have the legs to deserve it. There are certain titles out there that I will at least semi-hype. This is not among them. And if you are excited for the game, that's cool. I can't tell you not to be, but what I can say is just have that little voice in the back of your head that is constantly saying to your brain, don't get out of control. Don't pre-order this game digitally. I mean, if you're going to pre-order it in a store, that's a different story. Don't necessarily buy the digital deluxe edition just because they showed us something at E3 that was a cinematic, doctored, linear section of gameplay that may not even end up being in the game with those same core features. Just have that little voice of skepticism. That's all I can really say. And I know that I'm kind of harping on it, but it really is important given all the different things that we know about the project at this time. That's going to wrap it up, though. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching and sticking with me on this. Check out the links down below if you want to support the channel in any way. We have the Discord community, we have the Facebook community, we have the game forums on our website. We have all this other stuff. We're working on some more merchandise offerings right now, and even some upper echelon jerseys that I will make available at some point in the future. So let me know what you think down below, what you think of this whole series, of the type of content that I'm doing now, etc. All feedback, all feedback is good feedback. Some is kind of, yeah, you get the point. Thank you for watching. Again, and as always, have a nice night.